Hey guys, Metal Jesus here, and time for another question. This one comes from Ultra Egg on Discord, and they ask, what are your favorite video game soundtracks? Such a great question because there are so many to choose from. I've assembled a Metal Jesus crew, and let's start with Kinsey.
So my favorite video game soundtrack is actually pretty much all licensed music, but that's fine, it's whatever. And that is Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I played this game so much as a kid, and at first I just used to cycle through all the songs until I got back to Goldfinger, Superman, and so I would just listen to Superman over and over and over again. And then I started to realize, oh, there's other songs on this soundtrack. And it just paved the way for me to love punk music for the rest of my life. That soundtrack is amazing. It has Goldfinger, Dead Kennedys, The Vandals, Suicidal Tendencies, Suicide Machines. It's so awesome. It definitely just made the music that I liked for the rest of my life, so it had a huge impact on me. And all those Tony Hawk games have great music. And my other choice is actually just a really nostalgic and sort of generic, and that is Ocarina of Time. I have the soundtrack several times over, and so this soundtrack, I just loved it so much as a kid that I printed off all of the sheet music and got in a lot of trouble, because in those days it was like my paper and ink, it was just, I depleted it all. And I used to try to learn how to play it on the keyboard, and I was in band, so I played the baritone horn or the euphonium, and I tried to learn how to play all the songs on there as well. It was just amazing, and definitely one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all time.
My favorite video game soundtrack. I gotta just choose one? Oh man. I love video game music. I used to play the piano, and in my piano class in high school, I would actually play music from video games for my piano recitals. I had a gimmick going on for myself. So if I had to just choose one, it's just gonna be one, man. If I had to just choose one off the top of my head, it would be ActRaiser for the Super Nintendo. Yuzo Koshiro blows out of the ballpark as he always does. I love Yuzo Koshiro's music. Can you imagine anyone else combining symphonic music with that funky slap bass on that first level? Love it. So if I had to just choose one, I'm telling you, ActRaiser for the Super Nintendo. If you haven't checked it out yet, check it out. If nothing else, just YouTube the soundtrack. You'll love it. Honorable mention, if I may really quickly, Eight Eyes for the NES. That's the kind of music I hum during the day when I'm doing mundane tasks, like doing the laundry, like I'm doing now. So if you excuse me, got some more laundry to take care of. We'll see ya.
This goes back to the days of the PlayStation. And I remember just getting a secondhand PlayStation from a friend. I had to turn it upside down to make it fully work. It was on its last leg, but the games I played and the amount of content I got from my original PlayStation, hands down, best soundtrack, Wipeout XL. Wipeout XL had some awesome, upbeat music, from Chemical Brothers. I think Prodigy was another one. And, just the whole soundtrack in general really got that heart-pumping, fast-paced racing action. I mean, it just really got me into the series. I still think it's my favorite of the series. And Wipeout XL, the soundtrack to this is awesome. So check it out. And my favorite soundtrack.
Oh man, video game soundtracks. I listen to video game soundtracks every single day at work. I probably listen to it more than I listen to regular music, so I don't know what that says about me. I could talk about it for a really long time, but I'm supposed to only bring in one, so I'm going to bring in two. The first one is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. This might surprise some of you, but if you've played the original Donkey Kong Countries, obviously the music is incredible in them. Well, it's pretty much just the best of the Donkey Kong Country series, but with full orchestra, plus some new tracks in there too, but it's really, really good. You'll recognize some for sure from the older games, but they just feel so much more full and orchestral. Nintendo has done some really, really good music work. The other one, this is another one that's just really full and amazing. I'm not bringing in any of the really fun ones, Jet Set Radio and some of that, but Xenoblade Chronicles, this has, in my opinion, one of the best soundtracks in the world. I don't really hear people talk about it that much, but this music makes me cry sometimes. It's so good. Every time I hear, when I'm playing the soundtrack at work, I'm transported back into the game in my head. I know that sounds really lame, but it's true. This game just has such good music to go along with the moments in the game that you really feel a connection to them when you're listening to it later. So I really like those two. I could go on for a long time, but I'll stop it there.
Hey guys, my favorite soundtrack of all time has to be Sonic CD by Spencer Nielsen. Man, this game brings back so many memories. Now I know there's two different soundtracks, the Japanese version and the American version. They're both really good, but Sonic CD, the American one, just hearing that for the first time just blew me away in amazement. So yeah, that's all I have to really say about it. Lots of great songs on it. I mean, stuff you can actually like play in your car while you're driving down the street. It's pretty insane. Anyways, I'm here at GameStop looking for games, and I think I found a hidden gem.
My answer to this question is going to be a little bit different than what most people would assume. I think most people expect me to pick the most rockin' heavy metal soundtrack out there, and I feel like I already did that video with Anna. We talked about the Brutal Legend soundtrack, and that has an amazing licensed soundtrack. And to be honest, when I first read this question, the game that popped in my mind was Silent Hill 3. Specifically, this version comes with the soundtrack inside as a second CD. And I remember when I first got this game and I popped that soundtrack in, it's amazing. It's a great mix of ambient music, horror, but it's also very melancholy, and it's also very kind of uplifting as well. It's a really cool, varied soundtrack. It's mostly instrumental. It reminds me of some of the quieter songs that Nine Inch Nails has done, and it's just a fantastic soundtrack. It's one of those where actually I'll put it on while I'm working, and it's got kind of a trip hop, drums, electronic sound to it. It's such a great soundtrack. And also too, actually, I really like the game, and I know I'm in the minority there, but I do really like Silent Hill 3, and its soundtrack is absolutely great. So that's my answer for this, but I would love to know what your favorite game soundtrack is. Please post a comment down below. I'd love to hear it. All right, guys, thanks very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and take care.